Welcome to Fat Cat Productions News with a View. We're going to jump right into it right now because I have a lengthy manifesto to share with all of you, sharing my brain cells with you so that you can have what I have. All right, and Bob, that's for you in New York. January 20th, 2 days away, and with it brings a change of leadership and direction that America has wanted. We voted. It's done. President Trump will enter a stronger presidency than when he left in 2020. Donald Trump, the private citizen, secured and defined the future president's power as no other citizen has done since our founding. Yeah. President Biden's farewell address was kind of that of a broken and bitter man, inserting his fear of the truth, wanting to limit, in sense, free speech on social media. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're afraid of social media. Biden spoke about how America is better off with his 4 years in the White House. Well, if this was really the case, why was he forced to step away from his re-election campaign? When he did say in interviews that he was and would have won if he had been allowed to run. Now, I don't know about the allowed part, but if he would have run. A strong leader, which he says he was, of course, would not have stepped away. He would have fought the fight. He would have fight for that right. So you can't tell me that he considered himself a strong leader. Biden spoke about the power of the tech company CEOs can use in influencing politics, and that must be checked. So what he's really saying is the companies must be broken up and taken apart, like a monopoly, like they take apart companies that they feel are too strong. It's interesting that, he has a problem with that, but they had no money taking their money in donations. Biden said members of Congress should not be allowed to profit from stock trading while they're members. Well, he had 4 years to fight that fight. And he waits till his last 2 days to say, oh, how terrible that all is. Thanks, Joe. Biden alluded to the Supreme Court, and that what he was alluding to was limiting their lifespan. And that's what he was really getting at. Biden said that the power of the president should also be limited. And that, no one is above the law. As he pardons his son and any actions he might have done 10 years prior. 2,500 other actions of pardons, clemency, and commutations, more than any president has ever used. Now, that's not pardons. Jimmy Carter holds that. It's funny how Jimmy Carter and Biden are running neck and neck, right? The late Jimmy Carter. Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. But is that the power he's talking about? So I don't know when he's talking about, limit their power. The system works just fine. It has worked just fine. People don't like it. Well, change it through a process. We have a process that could be used to change it. Let's do that. Now, he talked about being, watch out for the oligarchs. Not oligarchs. But in his last 30 days, he forced through executive pen legislation that Americans have said on November 5th that we rejected. We don't want it. We don't want that. We don't want you doing these things. And yet, like a king, he came out and, hear ye, as the word is spoken, the deed is done. That is power. And again, my feeling on the subject of a president, any president, don't care, any president, being able to jump across Congress and just sign a piece of paper and make it an executive action should be limited to 10 in their 4-year term. And you can't save them up. You either use them or lose them if you go into a second term. You don't get all of a sudden, can't go back. But limited to 10. So they would have to be used very, very wisely. And you could force Congress to do their job. Now we have a Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, both leaned into the red. And you have a president that is red. And as I keep harping almost on every one of my podcasts, is watch out for the rubber stamp. I've seen rubber stamping stuff in companies, corporations, unions, where it becomes disastrous. So I have no problem with Democrats or Republicans or whoever questioning our government. We should be doing that. We should be questioning our government. And, just because 500 people scream and yell in front of your window doesn't make what they're screaming and yelling correct. There is a path that they could use. Protesting is one of them. I'm a strong supporter of protesting. Peaceful protesting. So, in the end, he forced his will, his legislation, on everyone. And as I said, the president already has a limit on his power. Congress can step in, use impeachment, and then push it to the Senate for their action. And having presidential immunity when you leave office, Trump has shown how valuable and always was. There's no new law. There's nothing. No new legislation. No new nothing. It was always there. And he fought, and he went through the courts. He did it the way it needs to be done. And you finally get up to the robes, and you ask those black robes, what does this word mean? What does this phrase mean? What does the paragraph mean? What does the article? What does the amendment? And they come out. You might not like what they say, but the only ones that can interpret the Constitution of the United States is the Supreme Court. So you might not like it. The other thing that he talked about was job creations, and I'm talking about Biden during his farewell. Those were jobs that came back after COVID. And he did listen. Biden has done some good things, and I just don't want to beat the guy up on everything he's done. Biden has done some good things, and but a lot of things that he has done, are going to have consequences for our nation, our children, their grandchildren, great grandchildren, all the way down the line. There's consequences. Actions have consequences. And really, I think in a lot of his legislation and a lot of things the Democrats did, they didn't listen to the majority of the people. They listened to a certain class, a certain group, and didn't care about what America as a whole felt. They were, well, we know what's best for you. And they were in power, and they could do that. But at some point, American people said, and that was November 5th, folks, just so you know, enough. Enough of the shenanigans. Now, the truth may well be shown, all of Americans and the world after January 20th. Be prepared. Now, some people are saying there's going to be 100 executive orders signed on the first day. I don't think so. Not 100. But I could see 10, 12 executive orders being signed. And like I said, I hate executive orders. There's just no need for it. We have a Congress. And there are times when the president goes, yeah, I know what you think, I know what you think. Now you're going to hear what I think. And I'm the guy at the top. So, I'm hoping that Trump comes through on what he said he would expose. And if he does not, he's going to hear it. That we are not going to let him skate on that. At least me and my 38 viewers here, or 45, or wherever, how many times these things have been looked at, will not. And we have seen that the media does one thing and the voters sit and go, yeah, okay, I see that, and I hear you telling me that, but I was just shopping and my eggs went from, 88 cents a dozen and now I'm paying $5. And why that might not be directly your fault, I'm still paying $5. So, I think there was a huge credibility issue. And we're done. Biden's going to be gone. Trump's going to be in. And let's see what happens. Attorney General Merrick Garland gave his farewell address to the Department of Justice. And I stated before in other podcasts that I didn't agree with Garland on a lot of his political leanings. But the guy was a stand-up guy. He was a good judge. But he could have been, he could be easily led. And I'm not saying that in a mean way or disparaging way. But he has a backbone. And what he does have is ethics, morality. He wasn't going to let anyone screw around with his ethics and his professional morality. And in that sense, he was okay. He was fine. He did say that, the DOJ has to have facts in opening an investigation, using facts to charge and win its case that stand up to any appeal. It was interesting to hear the Attorney General state that they have the power to prosecute, but should and could can be a factor. And it really came down to, you can do certain things, but should you? Now, the law is very exact. If you violate it, they can act. For you and I, or most of us, we don't get to have that type of swaying power that a president or a president can have, where you might not want to go to the president and go, "Hey, pal, you messed up over here, and you're in deep, trouble here." Whereas if we get stopped, that officer just goes, "Hey, tell it to the judge. Don't tell me. Tell it to the judge." So, in that sense, you really need a very strong attorney general. I thought William Barr was a good attorney general, but he didn't do everything that he should have done. He became a protector of the president, and you already had White House counsel for that. And he was advising the White House counsel, either directly or indirectly. Can't tell me that didn't happen. And that was not the job or the function of the Attorney General. That was Rudy Giuliani's job, but it wasn't Bill Barr's job. So I had a problem with him with that. I think Pam Bundy is going to be a very strong, no-nonsense Attorney General. And she has worked with Trump. I think Trump listens to her. Just like the chief of staff was his campaign manager, that he had to trust with his political life. And she got him across the finish line, so she's going to be a good influence to tell the president, yeah, you know what, Donald, I wouldn't do that. And these are the reasons why, and I'm going to tell you why. And before you start yelling and screaming, you're going to sit there and hear me. And then I'll leave the room. I'll let you have your little, tantrum. Then I'll walk back in the room, and we'll discuss it for a second time. I don't like to think of President Trump as Kylo Ren when he gets confronted and he starts smashing things and he went crazy in Star Wars. But I wonder, what Trump does. So, in that, this current administration will be gone on Monday. I welcome the new leadership across the spectrum of our government, the people that he's made nominees. I think the Democrats are trying the best they can to derail. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not saying they're rubber stamping these people, but I think most of them will get through fairly, their success is guaranteed almost. But they're going to have to answer questions, and they're going to have, like you do on a car, kick the tires. So, they got to answer questions. Some of the questions, again, are being asked, repeatedly, to nauseum, and have been answered, and they're just looking for a gotcha moment or something like that. And, stop with that. I will still look at the actions every one of our elected officials do. And I'm not locked in step with Trump or anyone else. I let common sense and the rule of law and what's allowed be allowed. If it's not, then you can have your debate about it, and once it is approved, well, that's the law of the land, and that is truly what happens. And there are Democrats that I support. There are, believe it or not, there are Democrats that I support. I support. I don't disagree on some of their legislation proposals and things that they have done. A good idea is still a good idea, no matter where it comes from, as long as it fits in the concert of the you know of your sensibility, morality. Then you can get there. Does everyone do I agree with everyone? No, no. Who does? None of us do. In that, again, I'm a constitutionalist. I like I love our U.S. Constitution, and those rights. Again, I keep saying filters down through the states, not reversed. The states cannot charge people with a federal crime. Only the federal government can do that. And you saw some of this, nonsense going on where, I'm going to charge, Trump with, sedition, treason, all this. They can't. States can't do that. Not to a federal official. Now, they could do that maybe to a governor through their own constitution, but not the other way around. The tail doesn't wag the dog. The dog wags the tail. That's the way it works. And only the Supreme Court can tell all the states what the Constitution allows, its meaning, each word, paragraph, and article. No one else. Only the robes. And that's why you want robes up there for so long, like a lifetime, because they'll stick to what they're doing, and you might not like it, and you might say, hey, that's wrong, and but I don't want to have the same fight and pay for the same property every 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. No. The system works, leave it alone. My cold is still horrible. And with that, what I'm saying about the Constitution, equal justice under the law. These words written above. The main entrance of the Supreme Court building expresses the ultimate responsibility of the Supreme Court of the United States to be of the highest tribunal in the nation for all cases and controversies arising under the Constitution or the laws of the United States. Which means the federal government can go to the state and go, yeah, you know what? You just made this law for your citizens? Yeah, no. It's contrary to what the Constitution says. Can't do it. And President Trump is a huge proponent of state rights that do not conflict with our constitutional rights. And that's the way, really, it should be. That if it's not addressed in the Constitution, the United States Constitution, then states have the right to address it. And as long as it's addressed in a manner not conflicting with the U.S. Constitution, yeah, have at it. Go ahead. The Supreme Court is the guardian and interpreter of the Constitution. There's no one else that can do it. You can ask the Constitution, and you could ask the Supreme Court and go to them and go, this is what I think this really meant. Or this is, that scope of that coverage is actually much greater than just what that little bubble you put it around. And the robes then have to decide. And they have to, the first have to, it has to get all the way up there, and then they have to agree to hear it. So, but the truth is that Donald Trump, private citizen, fought and to protect us all over the overreach of the government. So I think that's how a lot of his legacy will be, and that he used the law against those that were using the law against him. And he's the president. He's not in jail. And this wasn't that he stacked the court. He picked the Supreme. Well, every president picks the Supreme Court nominee. And yeah, oh, amazing. Trump is a Republican or conservative or federalist. He's not going to put those people in power in there. But they're not going in there and ripping out pages of the Constitution and throwing it away. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. You keep hearing about, our rights or stuff. Imaginary. That's all imaginary. Show me facts. Show me where Donald Trump has changed the Constitution. Show me where he's taken rights away from you. Well, you can't. And you're afraid, oh, he might, he could. Yeah, I guess he could. Has he? Has he said he would? Well, maybe on day one. We'll see what happens on day one. That makes me laugh. And as I stated also before, Democrats, please allow Donald Trump to have the room to either succeed or fail without putting roadblocks. And if you want him to fail, well, I'm sorry, that's, you're not being a good stewardship of our government, but you can do that. Sometimes you say, hey, oh, okay, enough. You want to do that? Go ahead. I'm telling you, you stick your hand in the fire, you're going to get burned. You don't want to believe me? Yeah, stick your hand in the fire. I'm tired, And, as long as the president, as long as everyone follows the law of the land, let him do it. I mean, and you can question him. Always question government. Always, always, always. And you can disagree, but don't block him in the sense that I can block him because that's what the political rhetoric says I should do. That's not good stewardship. And that goes for both Democrats and the Republicans. When they start blocking, we're going to block everything. You can't do that. That's not what you're there for. And work together. Play nice in the sandbox. Blocking legislations for the sake of doing so as a political tool is not good government. So, I went through my pages. You heard me. Now, I'm going to other things in the news. And I want everyone to know, too, I am a Republican, but I'm not a rabid Republican. I might sound like it. I'm a Federalist, but I'm not a rabid, Republican. All right, California. Not talking about the Los Angeles fires. We're talking about the Vista Energy battery factory fire. Still burning, folks. And the fire department states that the only thing they can really do is just let it burn itself out. Because when lithium catches on fire, it produces its own oxygen. It just feeds upon itself. It's like a nuclear reactor that goes critical. It just keeps burning and burning and burning and burning until it fizzles out. And that is the wake-up call. Now, we've always seen that. There's always been, spectacular video of, cars, Teslas, any of these things that uses a lithium battery. Just spontaneous catching on fire. And the reason for that, folks, is you got to understand physics. Lithium battery holds a lot of almost like kinetic energy. That's why that little battery can do so much, because it's so packed full of energy. But when it fails and it has no place to dispense that energy, it's got to be turned into something. And that's in physics called heat. And they'll burn. And there's no putting it out. You could pour sand on it. You could pour water on it. You could throw it in the ocean. It will still burn. And yeah, it isn't like you could even use, in the fire departments they have in buildings in critical areas where they want to make sure nothing ever happens. It's sealed up, and it's halon extinguishers that eat the air out of the room, stops that fire. Will also kill you if you're in that room and you don't have breathing apparatus. But since this produces its own oxygen, none of that would work. None of that would work. So Chief Mendoza reported that there should be a wake-up call about these batteries and containing them and storing them. This was a solar company, and where they said, well, battery storage, but they're just thousands of square feet of these batteries. And when they fail spectacularly. It's not like when you go out to your car and it's 8 degrees out and the battery now decides to give up the ghost. And it just, These batteries don't do that. They'll fail, and they can fail spectacularly. And this is why cell phones catch on fire on airplanes sometimes. It's why I hate battery-operated tools, because those battery packs are lithium batteries. They're not NiCads because NiCads just weren't efficient. So the lithium batteries, even the ones you use in your drill and you take outside, this is wonderful, it's great. Yeah, they can fail too, and do. And again, the results are, spectacular. And that's why I keep mine. One, I keep them away from others because I got 3 and 4 of these type devices, and I keep them in a metal cabinet. So, gives us some type of fighting chance of that it doesn't spread, or it could stay contained, or at least gives us the time to get out of the house. But this is a wake-up call as we go more into the solar technology. You got the solar coming in. You got to store it so when it's cloudy or it gets dark, which it does every night, that you have the source of the energy, and you've captured it, and then can put it back out, and the next day you start the cycle all over again. Well, that's what's going on there. And the nominations of Trump's appointed people through the nominees process. And Democrats' hope of derailing all that is dwindling quickly. They do have a few people that they're going to go after, and I said that already. There's 3 people that's on my list that are going to have a very hard time, not only with the questions from the Democrats, but questions from the Republicans. I'm sure the Republican got they're schooling their people. But the questions will be asked by the Republicans, and they're going to be interesting questions. Uh, a lot more interesting, and they'll be based on facts than some of the Democrats who just seems to be throwing some really wacky, wacky stuff. But the Senate has done something. The Lincoln-Riley Act passes the Senate vote 61 to 35. And this also was tied then to the immigration bill, which again, I'm not a huge fan of that bill that's coming out. I'm wondering if some of the provisions in that won't be a constitutional issue. And why not just address them now? Then go through all this, song and dance just to have it kicked back. And they all get to go, well, we tried, oh, vacation time, time to go. So I think that some of these things that the GOP is doing, and it's GOP, it's not Democrats, GOP, might pose a problem down the road with the robes. But part of that is the Britt-Collins Act, and this is all about that certain crimes are going to have to be reported to ICE. And these people are to be not detained by the state, but detained by the federal government. So it takes the state out of the picture, and this is now a federal issue. And again, like I said, the state can't make a federal charge. The federal can come in and go, you broke our immigration laws? Yeah. Now, I take that away from the state. I get them first. And off they go. And these are for things, for theft, burglary, and shoplifting. Gee, isn't that interesting? So, why do you think that happened? I'll tell you why. Because the states did nothing to stop it. They did nothing. And why was that? Because the district attorneys were bought and paid for. And they wanted these people to stay in America for their vote. And that's the Democrats, folks. You can't tell me any different. Soros and his money paid for these people, and has nothing to do with freedom, has just the opposite. It is so they would have a pool of people that they could go to and readily go, hey, remember how I was the guy? They wanted to get you out of here, and I fought, and, hey, you made a mistake, but everyone makes a mistake, and we're going to get your citizenship, and you're going to get the vote. And yeah, we know what that song and dance was. And really, again, that is why Trump is in office and Harris isn't. Because America saw through your veil. You thought you were hiding behind a veil. Well, we saw through. Now, isn't that a interesting point of view? And one of the people in the Senate, a Democrat, John Fetterman, Democrat, Pennsylvania, senator, gets up there and goes, I'm going to support these bills. They're good bills. Needs to be done. And then other Democrats started to go, oh, all right, well, yeah, I know it's a good bill, but, we got to vote the line here. And he went against it. And then others followed suit. They broke the filibuster. And again, I was one of the worst offenders of saying, Fetterman, oh my God, he's Uncle Fester. What are you doing? The guy, he's all mixed up in his head. And I mean, what are you doing? You know what? Every politician, every single one of them, red or blue, maybe needs a good stroke. Because John Fetterman, a Democrat, makes sense. And that's really what you want. You want people that make sense and you go, yeah, okay. I know you're a Democrat. I'm a Republican. But what you're talking about and how you want it applied and how you want to do it, yeah, I can support that. Joe Manchin, another one. A lot of his stuff, he makes sense. That's who they should have ran against Trump. Manchin didn't want to because he was becoming an independent and he was fighting, and Joe Manchin. So some good news out of that. Like, the Senate is actually doing something. Yay. Only took 4 freaking years. And that I blame everyone. Blame them all. CNN in the news, making the news. Seems they settled a civil trial suit out of Florida. A suit filed by Zachary Young, who was portrayed as an alleged smuggler of people from Afghanistan for profit. And they went after him. And that's what they reported. And they stuck by it. So he sued them. Well, a jury the other day found for Mr. Young, and it was $5 million for like loss of business and $1 million for punitive damages. But right as the jury, it was like a movie, right as the jury was about to, they made their verdict known, and this is a civil suit. CNN worked out a deal with Young and his attorneys because Mr. Young, his accountants estimated that the loss over 3 years was about $21 million. Now, was CNN worried that the jury would say, hey, $21 million and $10 million for his trouble? And maybe they went, and there's no dollar, there's NDAs all over the place with this. So we'll never really know, unless CNN divulges it, what the dollar amount settlement was. But I could assure you it was a lot more than $6 million. So there is some justice for people. But it's hard. When you go against the media, that is hard times. You're not, chances are you're not going to win that one. Now, I'm going to go back to Joe Biden. And, God, I don't know what I'm going to do after Monday. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go after Trump and things that he does that I don't agree with. So, you can count on that. Bob, don't call me, please. Please. And by the way, Bob, you pocket called me from your job. Biden, it's amazing. The guy never ceases to amaze me. He shakes up the legal experts by announcing the 28th Amendment is the law of the land now. And everyone's looking at him and going, what are you talking about, Joe? Now, for you people that don't know what the 28th Amendment was, that was the Equal Rights Amendment. Started in the 1970s and just kind of fizzled out. The 2/3, I think the last state to do that, to vote on it, was Virginia in 2020. And that was past the point of expiration. So it expired. That was nice that they did that, but it was meaningless. And so to restart the process again, you got to take it, rewind it, and go all the way back in the beginning, and go through all those steps again. Now, since that time, the Supreme Court, federal courts, state, courts that they addressed a lot of those issues. So a lot of those issues now that they were worried about in the Equal Rights Amendment have been addressed. So, but Joe Biden coming out and saying that he, 20th Amendment, law of the land. No, it's not. And the president has no authority to, no constitutional role in, taking an amendment and going, nope, that's passed. That's something he cannot do because that's already defined in the role of the Constitution. And, I know everyone, well, now, the president can sign whatever he wants. And no, it doesn't work that way. Because how legislation and a bill and then becomes law, that's already vetted out, and no one's changing that. But actually, he did. He wanted to change. He said, that's a law of the land. You're going to follow it now. No. It was, I said that the ERA fizzled out years ago. Joe coming out now and saying what he was saying is actually an embarrassment. I mean, I'm sure the Democrats, some of them are going, oh my God, who's watching Grandpa? How the hell did he get out of his room? So that was interesting, and I don't know how, well, I guess, because he graduated top of his class, according to him, right? So it just comes down to more crazy stuff that we hear. And, if it wasn't so sad, it would be funny. But it is sad. Joe Biden dedicated his life, and yes, it was everyone does stuff for their own good. I mean, the three most important people in your life is me, myself, and I. And then everyone else starts coming after, which not true for me, but that's the way it is. And Bob, not true for you. One of the most giving people I know. But Joe Biden has taken so much. And he's been part of that whole process of the old school politics right up to the top of the progressives. God bless him that he did it. And he wiggled his way through it. It shows what this guy, the survivability of this guy, and the tenacity of this guy. And Joe Biden was a fighter. And I say was. And now, it's like Mike Tyson going out and trying to fight again at 58. Yeah, you look good, you sound good, but now you look like a punching bag, you know. So, Joe, thanks. You're gone. Sit on the beach. Enjoy what time you have left. Enjoy all your grandchildren. I will say this: you stuck by your son, and that's a father's love. And I'm not taking that away from you. You pardoned him. I would have done the same thing. I would have done it sooner. So, you were better for waiting, and then doing it. I told you were going to do that. You were going to screw him, and you weren't going to let him off. You were going to, just maliciously not cut him a deal that you've cut so many other people. So you know what? I pardoned him. Good for you, Joe. All right. With that, I will be doing a. Well, I don't know if tomorrow I'll be doing a show, but I'll try. If I do, it will go out very, very late, like 10 o'clock at night or something like that. But we'll see. Sunday, I've been trying to do a show or even two shows in a day because I have no life. And my wife's very happy that I get locked in this room, and basically, she doesn't have to put up with me. And neither do you. You could always switch the channel. Like I said, Trump going, I'm going to go after Comcast. Hey, you don't like what you're seeing on TV? Or on the cable box or whatever? Change the channel. That's it. Done. Done. No one's forcing you to watch it. No one's forcing you to listen to it. And you're upset that, they make jokes about you, or they say incorrect facts, or they use facts and skew them. Donald, you should have much thicker skin by now. All right, with that, I'm going to give you, say a prayer for all the victims of hurricanes and the fires. If you're going to make a contribution, registered charity. No one calls you. No one sends you an email. You go to them and go to a registered charity. Don't become a victim and trying to help victims. So, until the next time, I'm just going to go and fade to black.